So in the end, he obviously didn't kill himself, just like Jeffrey Epstein. Shut up. I know he's your friend, but I don't care. Most of you spent less time in school than Greta Thunberg. So, if you win, right, come up, accept your little award, thank your agent and your God, and fuck off, okay? So, it's already 3 hours long. Our next presenter starred in Netflix's Bird Box, a movie where people survive by acting like they don't see a thing. Sort of like working for Harvey Weinstein. You did it. I didn't. You did it. Shut the fuck up.
Chris Tucker that we got now is Epstein Island Chris Tucker.
Oh, Lord.
Not Smokey.
Oh, Lord.
Jay-Z shot 3 videos on Epstein Island with supermodels that were under the age of 18 that were provided by Naomi Campbell.
These Epstein-like characters have existed throughout history, whether they were kings or what, human beings are human beings universally. So,
in 2020, Ricky Gervais stepped onto the Golden Globe Awards stage and pulled off something no one else dared. Looking straight at Hollywood's biggest names seated before him, he openly brought up Jeffrey Epstein, calling out the very celebrities in that room who had known him closely. These were the same individuals who flew on his plane and spent time on his island. The same group that stayed silent while troubling actions unfolded. In that moment, many of those connected to Epstein reacted with uneasy laughter, while Gervais wore a knowing smile, as if aware that the truth would eventually surface. Now, years later, that moment feels different. Documents are beginning to emerge. Names linked to Epstein are coming into public view. And something unusual is happening among Hollywood's elite. Many have suddenly fallen silent. Some, like Ellen DeGeneres, have even left the country. Gervais had already sounded the alarm. He stood on that stage and spoke bluntly. And now those who once laughed are no longer visible. So, is it just a coincidence? Tonight the focus turns to the names being revealed, the growing silence, and the question that few in Hollywood seem willing to address. Where are the celebrities who once associated with Epstein? And why has that silence taken over now? Ricky Gervais has hosted the Golden Globe Awards 5 times, and each time, one thing remained consistent. He spoke openly, without holding back.
On a serious note, just looking at all the faces here reminds me of some of the great work that's been done this year by cosmetic surgeons.
Now, to understand why Ricky Gervais matters again today, you have to go back to what he did that night in January 2020. When he walked onto that stage, he already knew exactly what he was about to say. More importantly, he knew exactly who he was saying it to. Sitting in that room were some of the most powerful figures in entertainment, individuals who had carefully crafted public images, people who had attended Jeffrey Epstein's gatherings, traveled on his plane, visited his island, and remained silent for years. Gervais began cleverly, promoting his series Afterlife, a story about a man struggling with the loss of his wife to cancer and contemplating ending his own life. It seemed routine at first, but then, in a single shift, he seized the moment and delivered a sharp, cutting truth that instantly changed the tone of the room.
The entire first season of Afterlife, instead of watching this show, that's a show about a man who wants to kill himself because his wife dies of cancer, and it's still more fun than this, okay? Spoiler alert, season 2 is on the way, so in the end, he obviously didn't kill himself, just like Jeffrey Epstein. Shut up. I know he's your friend, but I don't care.
For a moment, no one reacted. The cameras tried to cut away, but everyone in that room felt the shift. Ricky Gervais had just said the one thing you're not supposed to say in polite company. He had pointed directly at the issue everyone was avoiding, the truth no one wanted to acknowledge. And despite the humor in his delivery, he wasn't joking. What he did was expose the contradiction sitting right in front of him. These were celebrities who knew Jeffrey Epstein, people who had taken photos with him, attended his gatherings, and maintained friendly ties. The same individuals who stayed silent while serious allegations surrounded him, including claims involving minors. Gervais wasn't just making a joke, he was highlighting that silence. And this wasn't the first time he had used that stage to send a message. During that same awards ceremony, when he called out Epstein's connections, He also made a comment that seemed humorous in the moment, but now feels almost prophetic. He mentioned Ronan Farrow, the journalist who would later expose Harvey Weinstein, win a Pulitzer Prize, and become one of the most feared names in Hollywood.
In this room are some of the most important TV and film executives in the world, people from every background, but they all have one thing in common. They're all terrified of Ronan Farrow. He's coming for you.
At the time, the audience laughed it off, assuming it was just another sharp joke from Ricky Gervais. But he wasn't joking. What he was really doing was sending a message that their secrets weren't untouchable, that eyes were on them, and that pressure was building behind the scenes. Gervais has never hidden why he takes that approach. In interviews, he's explained that hosting an award show comes with a clear choice. He can write safe jokes that keep the room comfortable, praise the celebrities, and boost their egos. Or he can speak to the millions watching from home. The audience that funds the industry. The audience that's grown tired of watching powerful figures applaud themselves while ignoring everything else.
I've just met these 40 people whose lives were destroyed, and they're out in the elements living with that, and the fact that they're not going to be able to get those lives back, that this is a new reality for them.
You knew Jeffrey Epstein, didn't you?
You know, we flew Bill Clinton and a lot of different, that was a humanitarian trip to Africa.
Yeah.
And I met him on that trip because it was his plane. I didn't know who plane we was getting on, but it was a whole bunch of dignitary people who was with a delegation.
Just for the record, you've been on his private plane.
Yes.
You've been to stay on his private island.
Yes.
You've stayed at his home in Palm Beach.
Yes.
I've always said that I'm not a saint, that I am a work in progress, but I will not be held hostage by my past.
You know, it's factually true that I was only at dinners. You know, I never went to the island. I never met any women. And so, you know, the more that comes out, the more clear it'll be that although the time was a mistake, it had nothing to do with that kind of behavior.
Don't get to Hollywood and start sleeping with white women and doing cocaine, because it'll kill you. Yeah.
What made you think, you know what, I'm just going to hammer him? I don't care what the...
Well, I thought, when they said, do you want to host the Golden Globes, all that stuff I said in the show was true. I said, I'm going to write my own jokes. Right? And I thought, who do I pander to? The 200 richest people in the room, or the 200 million people watching at home who aren't winning awards, who aren't millionaires? And it was a no-brainer. I was doing it for them, you know, and I didn't want to, it wasn't set out to hurt their feelings, but it was, if you're going to make it a spectator sport, then you better have something, better be something in it for the people at home.
Now, years later, the Epstein files are gradually coming to light, and some of the biggest names connected to those records have done something striking. They've gone silent, almost as if they've disappeared from view. Ricky Gervais stood on that stage and called it out directly. He faced some of the most powerful people in the world and made it clear he didn't care about their connections. And now, the same people who once laughed that don't seem to be laughing anymore. So let's take a closer look at who has gone quiet. First, there's Tom Hanks. His name isn't prominently listed in the Epstein files, but it does appear in a 2013 email from Epstein's publicist, in a way that suggests some level of social contact. Not proof of wrongdoing, but a link to a world he has never publicly addressed. Then the rumors began. Social media exploded with claims that Hanks had been denied entry into Greece, and that his citizenship had been revoked. It didn't take long for fact-checkers to debunk those stories. The claims were false. His name never appeared in any criminal case, despite what the rumors suggested. But by then, the damage had already been done, and suspicion lingered. Since that point, several of Tom Hanks' public appearances have been canceled. He has stepped back from interviews, and he has largely remained out of the spotlight.
Sarah Ruth Ashcraft on Twitter, who has been accusing Tom Hanks of her when she was 13. Her dad sold her to Tom Hanks.
Since when has this brand of common decency and professionalism been put on hold just because of dynamics in the workplace? Is this what's going on with social media, that Oprah and I cannot go on a billionaire's boat to Tahiti with a former president of the United States and not keep it secret, for God's sake?
Then there's Leonardo DiCaprio. Gervais has spent years criticizing him, laughing about his dating life, his fondness for younger women not older than 25, and his apparent dread of aging. At the 2020 Globes, Gervais delivered a phrase that made the room move.
Once upon a time in Hollywood, nearly 3 hours long, Leonardo DiCaprio attended the premiere, and by the end, his date was too old for him. So... Even Prince Andrew's like, come on, Leo, mate, you know. You're nearly 50, son.
But beyond the jokes, Leonardo DiCaprio's name is said to surface multiple times in the Epstein-related records. In a June 2009 email, former UK Minister Peter Mandelson reportedly asked whether international organizations could seek DiCaprio's support. Then, in a 2016 exchange from an account using the name Deepak Chopra, there was discussion about arranging a dinner and whether DiCaprio might attend. Epstein himself had even tried to set up a meeting between DiCaprio and Woody Allen, though there's no evidence it ever actually happened. Then things escalated online. Strange and disturbing claims began circulating on the internet, including alleged email exchanges between DiCaprio and Allen, filled with bizarre coded language, supposedly hinting at extreme and criminal behavior. However, every credible fact check has dismissed these claims. They originated from unreliable websites known for spreading false information. The so-called cannibal narrative is entirely fictional, with no evidence to support it. DiCaprio has firmly denied any personal connection to Epstein or ever visiting his island. His representatives have also clearly stated that he never had any phone contact with Epstein. Still, with millions of documents yet to be fully revealed, questions continue to linger.
More than 300 additional pages have been unsealed, and we're actually expecting even more A-list celebrities also come up in this latest release. We have model Naomi Campbell, actors Leonardo DiCaprio, Kevin Spacey, Cate Blanchett, Bruce Willis, and Cameron Diaz, all mentioned here. Same with Star Wars creator George Lucas, Michael Jackson, and magician David Copperfield.
And then there's Oprah Winfrey, long seen as one of the most respected figures in modern media, widely admired for decades. In recent discussions, some reports claim that certain survivors have referred to her as a connector, suggesting she linked young women to Epstein and other powerful figures. These are allegations, not proven findings, but they continue to circulate. Oprah was also known to support João Teixeira de Faria, a Brazilian spiritual healer who was later convicted of multiple sexual assault charges and sentenced to decades in prison. Before his conviction, she had praised him and even featured him on her show. Online speculation has since gone further. Some claims attempt to draw a direct connection between Oprah Winfrey, João Teixeira de Faria, and Jeffrey Epstein. However, these assertions remain unverified and largely stem from social media and online forums, not established evidence. Even so, the conversation hasn't faded. Since these claims began spreading, Oprah has noticeably reduced her public presence. After spending around 40 years constantly in the spotlight, she has taken a quieter approach. Her recent appearance at Paris Fashion Week sparked renewed online discussion, people speculating about her health, her weight loss, and her slower, more careful movement.
Do you know what the number one job of somebody that sold their soul in Hollywood is? What? Is to act like it didn't happen. They all do the same job.
I always blamed myself. Even though intellectually I would say to other kids, I would speak to people and say, oh, the child is never to blame. You're never responsible for station in your life. I still believed I was responsible somehow, that I was a bad girl.
3 of the biggest names in entertainment. 3 individuals who were in that room when Ricky Gervais made it clear he didn't care about their connections. And now, in the months following these revelations, all 3 have grown noticeably quiet. When one celebrity tied to the Epstein files sells a home, it's called a lifestyle change. When 2 relocate, it's dismissed as coincidence. But at what point does that pattern raise questions? Joe Rogan has spent years pulling back the curtain on Hollywood and the stories behind it. Yet even he seemed surprised when discussing what appeared to happen with Jim Carrey. He looked different, almost like a completely new person. His voice seemed deeper, his eyes appeared lighter, and soon enough, rumors about clones began circulating online. And strangely, Rogan suggested Carrey might not be the only one surrounded by such speculation. Carrey himself has been at the center of unusual theories for years, especially after his public breakdowns, his unpredictable behavior, and his own claims that the industry tried to control him. Then there's Jamie Foxx. After his medical emergency in 2023, he returned with a noticeably different energy. something even he joked about, saying he woke up feeling so disoriented he thought he had turned into someone else. Rogan connected these moments on his show, raising questions about what happens to celebrities who challenge the system, who gets silenced, who changes, and who continues speaking. Then, on February 26, 2026, Jim Carrey appeared in Paris to receive an honorary César Award. It should have been a celebration of a legendary career, but within hours, the focus shifted. Social media lit up. Longtime fans began pointing out differences. His smoother skin, altered facial structure, lighter eye color, even changes in his speech. Some claimed he was signing autographs with his right hand despite being known as left-handed. And just like that, the speculation exploded again.
So this is supposed to be Jim Carrey? Look at his eye color compared to the impostor. So everybody thinks this is a fake Jim Carrey.
You know? Really brilliant. Oh my gosh.
They're doing this?
Adam was off the hook. I mean, I can't believe he committed to doing all that. I was really, is this about someone else? My favorite funny face is the one I'm wearing right now.
Thank you so much, Jim.
What the? What the? Dude, there's no way, right? Like, what is this? I mean, this looks like bull, honestly. Like, trying to make Jim Carrey one of the worst psyops in the world.
Now, some people argued that Jim Carrey had simply undergone cosmetic procedures. But surgery doesn't change everything. It doesn't alter the natural look of your eyes or completely shift the way someone moves and speaks. And to many watching, something about him felt different. Then an old clip resurfaced and intensified the speculation. Years earlier, Carrey had told David Letterman that he used decoys and body doubles to mislead photographers.